Thank you all so much for being here. Let me make a couple of opening comments. First of all, President Obama reached out yesterday through our Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, and David Agnew from the White House's Department of Intergovernmental Relations. The White House is fully engaged and working with us through the Department of Homeland Security and through FEMA, and we have a FEMA personnel embedded with us. So I wanted to thank President Obama for that. Also, for those of you that just witnessed the governor's press conference, we have been engaged with the governor on a minute-to-minute basis. Paul Rainwater, who is the governor's commissioner of administration, is embedded with us as well. So, Paul, thank you so much for being here. And as you all see, I have been in communication with all of the parish presidents in the metropolitan area of New Orleans for the last many hours. We continue to speak on a regular basis and to coordinate our activities and to stay in place. And, of course, you see around me a representative group of individuals that represent all areas of federal, state, and city government that are responsible for making sure that New Orleans and the people of New Orleans are secure. So I thank all of you for being here. I thank all of you for being engaged. I also want to address what is patently obvious to the people of New Orleans and to the people of the rest of the world. It is quite ironic that we have a hurricane that is threatening us on the 7th anniversary of Katrina. It is worth noting that that brings a high level of anxiety to the people of New Orleans. But I want to assure you all that there is nothing that this storm is going to bring us that we do not believe that we are prepared to handle. The people of New Orleans have been incredibly resilient. The people of the metropolitan area, the people of Louisiana have been through many storms. We are very well prepared, and we feel very good about our ability, if we do the things that we know that we can do, to weather this storm. And so I want to tell everybody now that I believe that everything is going to be okay. That does not mean that you can let your guard down. It doesn't mean that you can't do everything that you had planned to do. It means that you have to execute the plans that you have been working on for a very long time. And that at the end of the day, the success of these events will be driven by people taking responsibility for themselves and their families, so that the emergency responders behind us can be free to take care of those people that cannot take care of themselves. As the governor indicated during his press conference, and I will talk specifically about that, we are staged. We are battle ready. We're in battle rhythm, and we will be prepared to handle what comes our way. So the good news that has occurred between yesterday when we last met and today is that we have more clarity, that the storm slowed down a bit. It is now traveling at 14 miles per hour. We were concerned yesterday that if that happened in the Gulf at night with warm water, that it would strengthen. At this point, it did not. Everybody knows that that is subject to change. That is the good news. The bad news is that the cone of discomfort did not change very much. Every storm brings new nomenclature. We have spaghetti models now, and all of the spaghetti models trend that storm to New Orleans. And so as a consequence of that, what we believe that we know now, based on the latest information, which of course is always subject to change, is that we are going to have a hurricane that is going to hit New Orleans. And we are going to prepare, and we have prepared, as though that is an eventuality. We are expecting tropical storm force winds in the city starting tonight around midnight, or as they say, early Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. We could start to see hurricane force winds somewhere between 20 hours later than that. That would be 11 p.m. Tuesday night. I just told you 2 time frames that are in the middle of the night. That is important for people to be aware of, because you can be fooled. If you were walking outside of New Orleans right now, it looks like a really nice day. That is a facade, and I want people to know that and to understand that. We expect the hurricane, based on current tracks and trends, to make landfall as a strong Category 1. What that means is that the winds could be between 75 and 90 miles per hour with gusts that are higher than that. The good news is it's not a Category 3, but the bad news is it is a Category 1. And although we tend to see our histories based on 3s, 1s are very serious storms. And so I want to, again, urge the residents to take every precaution that you have been prepared to take in the last couple of years. I want to ask everybody to remain calm. It is not the time to panic. It is the time to take the storm seriously and to execute your plans. I would say that as just a matter of note, and the governor has indicated this, many parishes are in the state of an emergency, and we're all in this together. And of course, I declared a state of emergency yesterday. I want to strongly urge those individuals that are outside of levee protection in the city of New Orleans to think about leaving. I think that you are the ones who are most at risk. There are about 900 residents in Venetian Isle and Irish Bayou, and I would ask you to think about that. If your plan has always been in hurricanes of this nature to leave, now would be a good time to go. If your plan was to stay, now's the time to start to execute the preparations that you have put in place. We are, in fact, preparing for significant rain, wind, and electrical events with a possibility of localized flooding and power outages. The downside to this storm slowing down is that the slower it goes, the longer it takes, and if in fact it is pushing high wind and high water, there could be significant flooding and of course significant outages. So again, citizens have to be prepared. You will drive the success of this operation. So as I said, if you had planned to get out of town, now would be a good time to go. When we wait, lines get long and it gets more difficult for everybody else. If you plan to stay, prepared to hunker down, shelter in place with only the supplies that you have in hand. I want to urge you to check on your neighbors, particularly elderly residents. I want you to clear your gutters and your storm drains, secure your property, including loose furniture and debris. Board up your windows, hatch down your shutters, get your supplies ready. Bottled water, at least 1 gallon of water per person per day, with a minimum of 3 gallons of water per person. Perishable food, non-perishable foods and can openers, prescription medications, flashlights, batteries, and battery power radios are what it is that you are going to need in the event that we get hit with the worst side. The dangers for residents. So let me be a little bit forward-leaning and blunt about this issue. The most important thing we can do is work really hard to preserve life. Property can be replaced. So let me talk to you about the things that can kill you in a Category 1 storm. And this is from our past experiences because people tend to take them lightly. Driving and walking through standing water. You might walk over a drain cover that has been removed and fall in it and drown. That will kill you. If you walk in or around canals that have overflowed and you're not aware of where they begin and where they end. If you try to drive under overpasses that have standing water in them and you don't know how deep it is, that can be a problem for you. If you decide to go outside and just to experience what it feels like to be in gusts of wind, you could get hit with flying debris. And that will either hurt you or that will kill you. Or you could get hit with a downed power line that will electrocute you. If you improperly use generators and or candles and you're not careful with that, that can cause a fire and, of course, cause loss of life to you and to neighbors as well. These are just some of the things that can happen if you let your guard down and you don't follow rules of common sense. So simply because it is a Category 1 does not mean that we are not in danger. We are well prepared to handle it. I believe everybody knows what steps they have to do, and I'm going to ask everybody to use extra caution. The city, of course, is taking all necessary precautions. Again, yesterday I declared a state of emergency. Today I'm asking the residents in the New Orleans outside of the levee protection to very strongly consider leaving Venetian Isles and Irish Bayou. As I said, there are 900 to 950 people that we have outside of levee protection in Orleans. If you do stay, you need to take extra precautions. We are coordinating with regional parish presidents and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security. And as I've said, we are working with Secretary Napolitano, the FTA, the FAA, all of the federal agencies to make sure that all of the supplies are available on an as-needed basis. I would reiterate that every storm is different. We have never had two that have been the same. And so, like with Katrina, we expected a wind event. We got a broken levee event. This time it's a wind-water event. It could turn into an electrical outage event. And Charles Rice is here from Entergy to speak about that. We are completely staffed up, and we are prepared, as we have been all weekend, to continue working around the clock. Public safety units are fully staffed and prepared. All pump stations are 100% operational, and generators are in place to make sure that they stay so. 311 is 24/7, so if there are any needs, residents can get updated information and recent reports on, and they can report problems. You, the citizens, are our eyes and ears, and so it would be helpful if you see an emergency to call. If there is a major emergency, please call 911, not 311. Both are up and operating 24/7. Dr. Karen DeSalvo will speak directly to the issues of hospitals, nursing homes, and medical need evacuations for the elderly and those that are in significant need of medical attention. As many of you know now, City Hall is closed today, tomorrow, and Wednesday until further notice. The schools are closed as per the directions of Patrick Dobard with the RSD and the OPSB, and I believe Archbishop Amon did the same with Catholic schools, and I believe the private schools have followed suit. Trash pickup will cease today, so please bring in your garbage cans and secure your refuge until further notice. Today at 2 p.m., the Regional Transit will stop streetcar service and bus service. As I said yesterday, that once that happens, people can begin at the appropriate times parking on the neutral grounds. Please do so in an appropriate manner. We've been through this many, many times before. Don't take up more space than you need. And just follow common sense guidelines and make sure that you work with your neighbors to make sure that everybody is protected. Buses will run until winds reach 25 to 30 miles per hour. We will keep you informed about when that's going to be. The airport will remain operational until the individual airlines decide to stop flying. They will do that sometime around 35 to 40 miles per hour. If the car is here from the airport to speak to those issues, those are generally decisions that are made by the individual airlines, but that usually is the trigger point to them. And again, as I said, we'll start seeing impacts once winds sustain over 40 miles per hour. We have coordinated very closely with the tourism industry. We have a small convention in town of 7,000 individuals that were coming this week. They will decide sometime later today whether to come or not. We have another major convention in town this weekend. They are in touch. We are in touch with them. We also are in touch with all the general managers for the hotels for all of our guests that are in town and continuing to coordinate with them about what their needs and their wants are. So I'll come back up in a minute, but let me reiterate. This team is very, very well prepared and very well organized, both on the local level, the state level, and the federal level. Many of us have worked well together. We now have $10 billion worth of levy improvements. We have coordination that has not happened in the past beginning to happen again. And we believe that based on the information that we have and the strength of this storm, that there's nothing this storm will bring us that we are not capable of handling. And I believe that notwithstanding the anxiety that everything is going to be okay. And will be okay if everybody does, again, what they are supposed to do. You, the citizens, will drive this personal responsibility, taking care and executing and not leaving it up to anybody else. But we are well prepared to go, and we feel good about it. Everything I have just said is possibly subject to change in the event that this storm decides to do something that we have not yet expected. But it seems to be settling into a pathway and a speed that is becoming predictable, and as a consequence of that, we are beginning to make definitive decisions, some of which I enunciated just a few moments ago. So with that, we have a number of different individuals that will drill down with you on specifics, and then we'll answer any questions relating to the storm. So I'm going to ask Colonel Jerry Sneed to come up, and then he can just follow the agenda. We have a number of different people that need to speak to specific issues and be able to answer some detailed questions from you. So if I could bring up Colonel Jerry Sneed, I would appreciate it. Colonel?
Sure.
Thank you.
I was closer to you this time.
Sorry.
all city agencies, along with our state and federal agencies that we work closely with, have coordinated our efforts. I feel confident that we're fully ready, as the mayor said, to handle anything that Isaac decides to send to us. Our Emergency Operations Center is up and operational. We'll be at 24-hour operations until we need to shut down. We're ready. We encourage our citizens to get ready. Now's a great time to take in outside furniture, clean catch basins, all those type of things. We encourage our citizens to go to ready.nola.gov to help them in this preparation. Now that it's nice and quiet, this is a great time to do it. But we are ready. We want our citizens to be NOLA ready also.
Thank you. Sheriff Guzman, please. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. In accordance with our emergency preparedness and hurricane plan, 1,037 inmates were relocated to state facilities beginning last night. We completed that operation this morning at 6:30 a.m. Our objective was to complete this transfer in the best interest not only of the inmate safety but also of the public and in advance of any contraflow. We're very grateful for the assistance that we received from all of our partners, the city, the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, the Louisiana Sheriff's Task Force, and we have also released approximately 80 inmates that were serving municipal sentences or that were waiting to have a court appearance because of a municipal attachment. They were given summons and told to appear in court once court reopens. We've also notified the police department pursuant to the en banc order issued by the municipal court that we are not accepting for booking or intake or detention any persons arrested for violation of municipal offenses or warrants. That is, except those that are arrested on domestic violence or weapons charges. Those people that are arrested will get summons for the other charges. Of course, if there is a evacuation order, we would also take in people that are violating the curfew ordinance. We want to assure everyone that the Sheriff's Office and the deputies are on duty and working diligently. We're on a high alert status. We still have 1,329 inmates in our care, custody, and control at our facilities. Those are permanent facilities. We are working with the courts, the district attorney, and other law enforcement, and we're going to keep the public informed through our website, opso.us, as well as we have a telephone number, 504-827-8536. Thanks, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Chief Serpis, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The New Orleans Police Department is fully ready and fully positioned to be in our neighborhoods and our business districts during this time to provide protection for life and property. We are ready. The department has an extensive hurricane preparedness plan that we've been practicing for the last 2 weeks, and we feel very, very confident that we will provide the security and safety we all expect. We would like to remind everyone, please call 311 for non-emergency notifications of information the government needs, 821-2222 for normal police service, and certainly life-threatening incidents, please call 911. We've also made arrangements with the Slidell Police Department and the St. Tammany Sheriff's Office, as we did last year, for our residents and businesses that are far out on Highway 90 on the other side of where we occasionally get street flooding, that those law enforcement agencies, and we appreciate their support, will immediately render aid if an emergency call is warranted. Finally, every time we experience street flooding, we want to remind the people of New Orleans it is against the law, it is against a city ordinance to drive a vehicle or a boat through a flooded area which can cause a wake and or exceeds 5 miles an hour. In this case, it's about protecting life and property. There's no question that if you don't know how deep the water is, if you don't know where a manhole cover was supposed to be, or you drive through standing water, you can cause significant injury to yourself and certainly discomfort and destroy the property of your neighbors. We will enforce that with a zero tolerance, and as a part of that ordinance, no one in the city is allowed to move a barricade from a flooded roadway once a police official or a government official places that barricade in front of the flood. We will be out in force, and we will be there to respond to calls.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Parent, please, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The New Orleans Fire Department is fully staffed and operational throughout the city of New Orleans. We will be able to respond for fire, water, hazardous materials, or medical emergencies throughout the duration of this storm. Our urban search and rescue team is on standby and available for deployment at any given notice throughout the duration of this storm. We will be there to protect our citizens and their property from now until whenever we're not needed. Thank you.
Marcia.
The Surgeon Water Board of New Orleans is totally prepared and ready to respond to this emergency. Once power is lost, commercial power is lost, the Surgeon Water Board has generators in place that will provide continuous support for the drainage system, the drinking water system, and the wastewater system. Again, the Surgeon Water Board of New Orleans is fully prepared to respond to this emergency.
Deputy Mayor Grant. Thank you, Marcia.
We've begun the process of shutting down all the capital projects, both the infrastructure projects and road projects and facility projects. That'll be accomplished by the end of the day. We have vacuum trucks working on our main boulevards, trying to get to as many catch basins as we can prior to the event. We've begun to stage all of our materials, and all of our maintenance contractors and staffs are on standby, and we've begun shutting down all of the public buildings, which also will be accomplished by the end of the day.
Great, thank you. Dr. DeSalvo, talk about medical needs, please. Thank you.
The health system is also ready for the storm. Most are sheltering in place. There are about 1,000 folks who are registered in our medical special needs list, and we have begun reaching out to some of the highest risk individuals on that list and transporting them to a shelter in Baton Rouge if they so desire. It's not required. If people want to get information, they should call 658-2500, and we will take more information from them. Even if they're already registered on the list, we'd like for them to still call 658-2500. We have sheltering in place at the missions and for the homeless. And I would just remind everybody that a lot of providers, doctors are closing down this afternoon. So make certain that you have your medications if you have chronic disease, because you may not be able to find them tomorrow. Thank you.
Be great. Now we have Tim Duty and Susan McClay with flood protection authorities on both the East and the West Bank. Tim Duty.
The levee districts are ready, fully prepared. The Lake-Borne surge barrier and the Seabrook barrier will be closed sometime later this afternoon. All of our gates are being closed currently. We expect them to be fully closed by late tonight, as late as midnight. We'll reopen those gates as soon as possible. We have all of the confidence.
Tell me exactly what gates those are.
Okay, there are gates across Highway 11, gates across Highway 90 that will be affected by high tides. We'll close those gates when those roads are no longer passable, and we still have the ability with the wind to actually close those gates.
And you expect that to be tonight at 6?
We expect it to be tonight. Actually, I got an update. It's going to be at midnight. And we have the absolute confidence in the perimeter system to defend us against this storm. All the confidence in the world.
Thank you. Susan, please. Thank you, Tim.
Well, the good news is, for the first time in our history, the West Bank system is functionally complete, and I know Councilperson Clarkson and Palmer are thrilled about that. Approximately 70% of our floodgates have been closed. It's expected that by 8 p.m. tonight, the remainder will be closed, except for the Western Closure Complex, which it's our understanding will be closed around noon tomorrow. Our command center is fully staffed and fully functional, and will be doing so around the clock until further notice.
Great, Susan, thank you. Charles Rice from Entergy, who you'll be hearing a lot from in the next couple of days.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, Mr. Rice.
Good afternoon. We've activated all of our emergency response centers, those in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Jackson. We've pre-staged all of our equipment. We've kept equipment in this area. It's located on the high ground. We've also activated our mutual assistance agreements with other utilities around the country. They are poised and ready to move once we give them the word. We encourage all of our customers to go to our website, log on to Entergy.com. You can sign up to receive text messages. We will text message you when there is an outage in your area. We will text message you with the estimated restoration time, and we'll also text message you when your power has been restored. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And again, we ask you, if you suffer an outage, to please call us as soon as possible, 1-800-9-OUTAGE, 1-800-9-OUTAGE to report any outage that you may experience, or if you see a down power line or you experience a gas leak. As the mayor emphasized, if there is a down power line, please do not hesitate to contact us. Please stay away. If you see a down power line and standing water, please do not go near it, as you can suffer a fatal injury. And lastly, we are prepared for the worst and hoping for the best. And as some of you may not know, we are the best in the country when it comes to storm response. We received the Edison Electric Institute Emergency Response Award 14 years running. We're the only utility in the country that can make that claim. So again, we are ready to provide service when called upon.
That's great. Just make sure it goes back on as quick as possible. All right, Deputy Mayor Michelle Thomas, Deputy Mayor of Operations. Thank you, Charles.
All of our crews, contractors, and equipment that are necessary for debris removal and cleanup are staged and ready to go. As the mayor stated earlier, today was the last day for household waste pickup until Thursday, weather permitting. Additionally, we're asking residents to bring your cans and carts inside and secure them so that they won't be moved around with the storm. And finally, all of the city's parks and recreational facilities are closed until Friday, weather permitting.
Great, thank you. Justin Augustine with the Regional Transit Authority, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Regional Transit Authority is prepared and ready for this impending storm. And as mentioned earlier, we will shut down all streetcar services today at 2 o'clock. But I want to mention, those services will be replaced by bus services. The normal bus routes will continue through tomorrow until those storms reach a gust of approximately 25 miles per hour. And we will keep the public informed through the JIG process. Thank you.
All right. Iftikhar Ahmed with the airport. Iftikhar, you with?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The airport is ready. We have secured all our construction sites for our construction for Super Bowl. I've met with the airlines, and Southwest and United and American has just notified me that they're going to run their schedules today, but they're going to be canceling their flights tomorrow. So we hope to hear from the rest of the airlines before 2 p.m. Then it was going to be a question of when the airport opens back up, and that depends on the navigational aids and the viability of the airfield after the storm passes.
Iftikhar, thank you. All right. Also, I want to again thank our council members for being so involved, and ask the council members or member to speak for the council.
Council Vice President Clarkson, as she's been through this, I think that the mayor speaking to the anxiety level that's palpable in New Orleans, I hope can be assuaged to some extent, because Councilmember Clarkson has never felt as confident as she does right now about how we're going to respond to this hurricane.
She gave my speech. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. Your entire city council is on duty. Our staffs, we're here to do whatever is necessary to expedite services and help to you. We are working in concert with the administration, with the mayor, as he is working in concert with us and with the other parish presidents and the governor and the federal government. So you've got total coordination from the top all the way down through your city council and this magnificent team behind us. The most important thing you can do is stay vigilant, stay in touch, stay tuned to your radios and your televisions, and use the ready.nola.gov for alerts, and call 311 if there's anything you need or you see a need of a neighbor or a friend or a relative. It's critically important that you follow orders. I've been through many storms, and I've been through several with this mayor. He is in command and doing a very good job. Listen to what he says, and he will have the advice of this entire team above and below him when he gives you a mandate. Please follow. It's only in your best interest. The only regrets I have ever seen following these disasters were the people that didn't follow the orders that were given by a good leader. I feel the most confident I've ever felt in a storm of this type in this city in my lifetime. So please follow the orders. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Councilmember Guidry has to make some comments. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you. I want to state for folks who have kayaks or other small boats on the bayou or in the bayou, please go pick up your boats. There are many people who live in that area who are concerned that the boats will be tossed around in the wind. So we would like you to come by and get your boats today. And just on a regular note, we would like those boats to be picked up whenever they're not being used. People are concerned about them being breeding grounds for West Nile virus. But for today, please pick them up to avoid them being thrown about in the wind and perhaps causing property damage. And one other thing I'd like to say is about the animals. Please make sure that your animals are taken care of during this time period. The SPCA will be accepting strays, but they'll have a skeleton crew, and their trucks will only go out for emergencies. So please take care of the animals, and please be aware that when you have events like this, animals such as snakes, raccoons, those types of animals will come out of their hiding places, and also domestic animals who are lost may become animals that will bite. So please talk to your children about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. I neglected to call up our representative from the Coast Guard. Pete Gauthier is with us to talk about navigable waterways or not.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My name is Captain Pete Gauthier. I am the Coast Guard Sector Commander and the Captain of the Port, responsible for all Coast Guard operations in southeast Louisiana. Over the past several days, the Coast Guard, together with the river pilots and maritime industry, have been aggressively preparing the lower Mississippi River and surrounding waterways for Hurricane Isaac. The mouth of the Mississippi River was closed yesterday evening to ship traffic last night, and we've directed all ships who haven't left port upriver away from areas that are most vulnerable to storm damage. Tug and barge companies are completing a major effort, moving hundreds of barges upriver away from the most vulnerable areas up towards and past the city of New Orleans and towards Baton Rouge. The Coast Guard has been working very closely with the Army Corps of Engineers and flood control districts and maritime industry to clear the canal systems adjacent to the Mississippi River within the city and within the storm risk reduction system to minimize the potential or eliminate the potential, essentially, of any barge strikes or any vessel strikes for the levees should the water rise in those canals. For vessels that can safely moor and who can safely remain, they are finalizing their mooring plans and are in place and will be able to withstand this storm. And I expect to answer the mayor's question, to completely close the waterways, the lower Mississippi River and the surrounding canals by this evening when we begin to experience tropical force storm winds. All these efforts are being overseen by the Coast Guard. We've had teams out in the field for the past 4 days to make sure that all these things are going very smoothly with our oversight, and to make sure that mariners and people who live in the communities in and around our waterways are safe. The Coast Guard is focusing today on preparing with our maritime partners and public safety partners for what happens after the storm comes through. So it's important for us to mention that there will be a period of time during the storm where we aren't going to be able to respond to people in distress out on the waterways. We're moving our helicopters out of harm's way. Our patrol boats and our small boats are heading upriver to safe haven in places where they can quickly remobilize, get downriver, and get to the coastal area so we can respond. But again, there will be a time frame where we're not going to be able to effectively respond to all areas. So I encourage everyone to get off the water now and don't get back on the water until the hurricane is passed and it's safe. So in summary, the Coast Guard and our maritime partners are ready to respond to this hurricane. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to summarize, again, great thanks to President Obama and Secretary Napolitano, FEMA, and the entire federal team. They have been leaning forward and been incredible. Thank you again to Governor Jindal and his team on the state level. They likewise have been incredible, as have the men and women who are standing behind you, who, as you know, are key employees whose families are safe, but they're here. And again, we are as well organized as we have ever been. and I feel very confident, given the levee system, given the 26-foot high 2-mile wall that has been built, given the work that has been done across federal, state, and local governments and the private sector, that we are prepared for what this storm is going to bring us at this point in time. As a consequence of clarity in the middle of the night and knowing now that that storm appears, if it stays on track, to be coming to New Orleans, we are preparing now for a Category 1 storm. That is a very serious storm. And as I have said before, it brings great danger with it, from floodwaters to potential electrical outages. And I enunciated the dangers that can occur. Protecting life is always our first priority. So I ask people to be vigilant. When people become less than vigilant, that is when problems occur. I want to reiterate to everybody that it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. If everybody does what they're supposed to do, we're going to get through this storm and do what we do all the time, which is to stand back up, brush ourselves off, and continue to do great things, in my opinion, in the greatest city in the world. We have, as of this meeting, set a course of action that we enunciated to you today. That is the course that we will stay on unless there is a significant change in the way the storm moves, which, of course, will dictate us being flexible enough and fast enough to change as well. I want to just mention something that the chief said. One of the things we all suffer from is people forgetting that it's a serious situation and enjoying driving through water and causing wakes. There is a zero tolerance for that in the city of New Orleans, and I know the other parish presidents in the metropolitan area will say the same thing. That can cause a tremendous amount of damage to, in some instances, life, and to some instances, property. So I want to reiterate that this is a very first and courteous request not to do that, but this will be the last courteous request that you get, so that nobody says you didn't tell me. As well as being just thoughtful and considerate about working with your neighbors to assist each other in getting out of harm's way and being thoughtful about where you park and what you do. Finally, let me say this. Notwithstanding the incredible amount of work that we have done to prepare ourselves and the incredible coordination you see from the President of the United States all the way down to parish and municipal governments, the success of this event will depend on our execution and your compliance, with your compliance being the most important part of this. If the citizens do what they can do and what they're supposed to do, our ability to help those people that cannot help themselves will go up exponentially, and the safety of the city and the safety of the people will be much, much more secure. So again, I ask everybody to really lean forward, to take this seriously. Do not panic, but do what it is that you have always planned to do. And if our execution is good, then our success will be great, and we will preserve life and property for everybody. So I thank all of you for allowing us to enunciate that. I'm hoping that future press conferences from this point will be somewhat shorter, because we will be in the execution mode unless the strategy changes. So with that, I thank all of you, and we will open it up to questions. Again, if it's a generalized question, I'll answer it. If it's specific to one of the subject matters, please just direct it to the individual that spoke to the issue, and they will be able to give you the details. All right?
Mayor Landrieu,
yes.
Despite all of the confidence we've heard here, what are those one or two things you're still concerned about? And this question for Chief Surpass, do all of the police stations have working?
Well, let me say, the thing that we always worry about is being prepared for the unknown. Every storm that has come through in our entire lives, and I can remember as far back as Betsy, that's as far back as I go. Some other people might want to talk about stuff before that. I'm not looking anywhere in the room. But every one, I wasn't talking about you. Every one of them is very different. And the one thing that I have learned that is universal through all the storms is be prepared for the unexpected. And the level of confidence that you show should not be interpreted to mean that we are completely, sure that nothing is going to go wrong or that bad things are not going to happen. That is not what I am saying. What I'm saying is that we are as well prepared as we can be for what it is that we know, and we are prepared to respond to the unexpected. Having said that, there is still great danger that can come. One thing is, because we're on the east side of the storm, at least at this point in time, is there could be tremendous wind events that push a lot of water into places that you know, it hasn't been before. And as a consequence, if people are not paying attention, they could wade into places that could cause them trouble. The electrical outages that could occur could last for a very long time. You recall Gustav, where we had electrical outages that not only plagued Louisiana, but actually went up through the country. We don't know that that's not going to happen. When that occurs, having an electrical outage for 2 days is something that's easily sustainable. 3, okay. But once you get past that, it starts getting a little bit more difficult. The other thing that I continue to be concerned about is, notwithstanding the conversations that we just had and the clarity with which I just spoke about what can hurt you, people will do silly things like seeing what it feels like to swim in Lake Pontchartrain when the tropical force winds are blowing up on them, and then we'll lose somebody. The challenge with that, besides the particular loss of life, is you put EMS personnel's lives in harm's way as well, because we are going to do everything we can to serve. So I am very concerned about that. And again, what I said was I feel confident about our preparations. I feel confident about our infrastructure. We now have to get really on point about our execution. And that's not just us, but again, it's the citizens as well. Secondly, Chief Serpius, I'm going to let you answer the question about generators at the police station.
The absolute question is that there's 3rd District, 4th District, and 5th District are not with generators. However, requests have been made to the Emergency Operations Center to have temporary generator facility, temporary generator capacity, and I don't think there's going to be any question. We'll get that done.
Rich? What's any plans for voluntary or mandatory evacuations, and are things in place to do so, and what would need to happen?
We do not, at this moment, intend to call for a mandatory evacuation. The facts and the circumstance that we are aware of at this point in time do not indicate a Category 3 storm. That would be our trigger point for a Category 3. There is a time point beyond which we couldn't evacuate anyway, and we're getting very perilously close to that moment. That could be in the next 3 or 4 hours. So I don't anticipate at this time, based on what I know, but I want to put a big asterisk by that. There are continuing weather updates. If this storm does something really crazy that we don't expect, we could alter that decision. I'm not going to give you a definitive moment by which we would say that we can't ever call a mandatory evacuation, but obviously the closer that storm gets to us, and I believe that it's at H13 now, it gets problematic moving people because it takes a long period of time. The governor's press conference before this one indicated that contraflow is prepared to be invoked if the need be. We also have the assets necessary in the event that, number one, a mandatory evacuation is called for, that we had time to do it, and that we decided to do it. We actually have, we absolutely have the tools to make that happen. Whether we have the time is another matter. I would say again very clearly, there is no indication right now that the circumstances require a mandatory evacuation. A voluntary evacuation is what that is. People have to make a decision based on what their plan was. If you plan to leave, and if you feel comfortable leaving, and if you have a place to go, and you're going to go, don't wait and then complain about sitting in traffic for a long period of time. Now would be a good time to go for you and for everybody else. If you have planned to stay, then make the preparations necessary to stay safely and to have the tools that you need. We've already gone through many, many times, and we have a lot of sophisticated folks in the city of New Orleans that have been through this many times and understand what sheltering in place means. We've enunciated that many times, and we would expect for you to begin to execute your plan and to begin to comply with some of the dictates that may come out of the information that we gather over the next couple of briefing moments. Anybody else? Yes, Katie.
There's a lot of construction going on in the city. Good thing. However,
yes, ma'am.
Some people have raised some concerns about the fact that there's still cones and barricades out there. Another concern is that debris pile from the hotel at Canal and Claiborne. What is being done with that, and is that a concern for either you or the state?
The answer is yes. I'm going to let Deputy Mayor Grant address that issue.
Or Paul.
Or Paul.
Paul, you want to? Yes, sure. That's my job, to take care of the unknown, and Paul Rainwater, Commissioner of Administration. We are actually securing that site as we speak, and we shouldn't be any problems whatsoever. In fact, we've been, because of the large construction project the University Medical Center has been going on, we've been working since Friday to secure the debris and also the site itself. So shouldn't be any issue there.
Cedric, you want to address the other sites?
We've contracted every contractor that is employed by the city of New Orleans and asked them to secure their sites and remove all of any and all items that can fly. We've weighted down all of the barricades that we believe are necessary for public safety, because we do need to identify those places where there are holes in the ground or something like that have been covered. But for the most part, we will have all of the anything that could possibly be an obstruction moved by the end of the day.
Anybody else? Patrick, did you want to? You don't want to? Okay, good. Yes. One more.
Question is for Ms. Martin. With the two pumps down at the Orlean Avenue outfall canal and the significant amount of rainfall that is expected with this hurricane storm, if in fact the Army Corps of Engineers has to call up the Sewage and Water Board pump station, what areas of Mid-City and City Park will be at risk of flooding?
Well, you know that the safe water elevation in the Orleans Canal is the highest. So those two pumps being out of service is not going to impact the ability to evacuate water if that gate is closed. So the Sewage and Water Board is fully capable of responding to any evacuation of water, and we do not anticipate any parts of Mid-City or any other areas in which the Corps closed floodgates to be flooded as a result of that closure.
I know we had a lot of events happening tomorrow and the following day on Wednesday before the Katrina anniversary. Do you feel that a lot of the fear going on with a lot of residents is because they're feeling all the same emotions at the same time frame?
Well, it's hard for me to know the true answer to that question. I can say that I feel a heightened level of anxiety, and I think that it's related to the time and the place and the fact that there's a hurricane that's bringing back feelings and emotions, that I really never thought that I would feel. So I'm just sensing from talking to people that there is a high level of anxiety just about the crazy notion that another bad storm could hit us on the same day that turned out to be the worst day of, at least our immediate history. So I think we all sense that. It's one of the reasons why we want to continue to give as much information and try to make everybody feel comfortable. I would say this again. I have a huge amount of confidence in the people of the city of New Orleans. We have been through, as I have said, a hell and high water, and in some instances both. And that since September 11th, the people of this city who suffered tremendous economic hardship because the tourism industry went down to zero. We have had Katrina, we have had Ike, we have Gustav, we have had the national recession, we have had the BP oil spill, and we have had a whole bunch of other scares. And we have spent a lot of time working really, really hard, individually and collectively, to prepare ourselves for these events. We feel like we are very well prepared. We are anxious and nervous because you're never sure. We were anxious. I mean, we thought we were sure before Katrina hit, so you will never know until it occurs. But based on what I've seen and based on the level of preparation and based on the confidence that I have in the people of New Orleans, I will say this again. I think that we are going to be okay. But that depends on citizens being responsible for themselves and executing their plans as they have planned to be, understanding that things can change and sometimes there are things that we cannot predict. But I think this team behind you is prepared to respond to whatever comes our way, and we will do so in the most aggressive way, and we will work around the clock to make sure that the people of this city are safe and secure. All right, thank you.